Of Congress next year are once again going to try to produce revenue-neutral tax reform by eliminating various tax preferences and loopholes. One of the biggest money losers for the U.S. Treasury is the home mortgage deduction, which costs $70 billion every year. Should that be put on the table? And if not, what loopholes would you propose eliminating instead?
We need tax reform. I think everybody, first of all, when you sit down to do your taxes, if you don't have help, you're just lost. And the reform has to happen first by putting people back to work so that they have money to pay taxes. Then we need to make sure that the fair share is being paid by the people who are making the most. So there are not loopholes, but benefits and incentives to give to community organizations. You get a tax write-off. There are incentives to do things to make the community stronger. So we ought to do that. Most people, home ownership is the biggest asset that they do have. But they're taking money now because they've got to put their kids through school. I think that some of the interest rates that are out there now need to go down. Student loan interest rates need to go down. So people need to make more money so that they can pay taxes, but the people who make the most should be the ones paying the most.
You asked hard questions. So absolutely not. But let's also recognize that home interest mortgage deduction is already limited. You can't take it on a second home, your beach home, your mountain home. It's limited, I believe, to $500,000 or $600,000 in the mortgage. So the billionaires or the mansions, most of their home interest is not deductible already. And let's remember that the essence of the American dream is your home, is to own it. And so we would really move America away from home ownership, which, by the way, is, I think, the lowest from the 29 to 35-year-olds has been in years and years and years, decades and decades. I do think that there are, as we look at the tax extenders, there are good things we should extend and there are bad. I would love to see the R&D tax credit for research and development made permanent. Right now, businesses don't know if they can do R&D again and again because it's going to expire every 2 years. On the other hand, I believe we give oil companies about $4 billion a year in oil depletion allowance. We are the #1 nation in the world in our fossil fuel subsidies. This is something we could change. Also mentioned earlier, I'm from a national carbon tax. That would go a long way to help pay for a lot of this.
I would support taxing capital gains at a higher rate than income taxes, similar to the pre-Reagan years. And that's a fair loophole to eliminate. We have to eliminate loopholes on corporations that offshore jobs. Those are the kind of loopholes we need to eliminate. The only one that I would consider regarding mortgages would be on the price of the mortgage above the most expensive home in the 8th district.
Well, there have been some people that have proposed, for instance, a cap on how much you could deduct. You could deduct $30,000 or 20, no more than $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 in interest a year. Is that something that is?
I think that's reasonable. I think it's not too far from where we are right now. The number may adjust, but already, if you have a $750,000 mortgage, which many people in the 8th district in fact do, the differential between whatever the cap is, 500, 600, and the above, is not deductible now. And it's fine to move the cap down if we need to, work on it with the budget. We can do that in a variety of ways.
Right. I mean, do you think it's, revenue-neutral tax reform is actually the way to go? I mean, that seems to be the only possible route to getting changes in tax reform. Is a number of people on both panels have talked about raising taxes on millionaires and billionaires, which, frankly, when the Republicans are in control of Congress, would be a heavy lift. So that's why I was trying to look for other ways that you might actually change the revenue mix. But the issue is, when the bottom line is revenue neutral, that means you're not raising more money. It just means you're changing the preferences. And I don't know if anyone here wants to say whether or not there's a loophole that they would.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest loophole that I see is all the corporations that are moving jobs offshore. Apple Corporation, and I don't mean to pick on Apple because they all do it, so it's not distinct to Apple alone, but there are $2 trillion that are being held offshore because corporations know that if they bring the money home, then they're going to be taxed on it. There's an incentive in our law to take the money overseas and the jobs along with it. That doesn't make any sense to me. What I would do is I would reward the ones who bring jobs and money back in, and I would punish the ones that go offshore. If companies want to sell here, then they should pay our taxes. I mean, this is the biggest, there's a reason why corporations used to pay a very large share of U.S. income taxes. Today, they pay very little. In fact, 2/3 of corporations, including major corporations, pay no taxes at all. So what we need to do is make sure that we reward the ones that bring the jobs here and not the ones that bring it overseas. I get rid of the hedge fund loophole, the oil company loophole, the jet plane loophole. There's a lot of loopholes for rich people I get rid of.
You know, we deal with this in Virginia all the time. We have loopholes that Steven Spielberg for the movie tax. We got all kinds of oil and gas type loopholes. But certainly at the state level, I mean, I disagree with you, Don, with all due respect, on lifting the cap. I think this punishes lower income and middle income Americans. I wouldn't lift the cap at all. I mean, there's a lot of people living in, especially where we live, that depend on the mortgage tax, and I would not cap it at all. But yeah, offshore loopholes, you remember when Romney ran for president, you know, his percentage that he paid compared to what the rest of us probably in this room paid? I mean, I would go after that kind of loophole too. There's a lot of corporations, big corporations, that are paying no taxes whatsoever. And so those are the people that I would go after, but I don't look at the mortgage deduction as a loophole at all. So many lower income and middle income Americans depend on that every single day. No, I would not cap it, and no, I would not cap it at all.